What's up, everybody?
Happy Halloween, freaks and geeks, and welcome to the season 2 of Castlevania's podcast.
Well, it's anime podcast part 2. So,
Anime in quotations.
West anime.
Westame.
So, from what I understand, Lawrence could not make it tonight, but tonight we have. If you want to introduce yourselves, we have Lewis. Go ahead. We have Lewis, Mike. We have Lewis, Mike, and Will. But go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is
All
Striker Red. Okay, my name is Striker Red.
This is 676. Oh,
Sorry, Mike. Sorry. Go ahead.
I thought we were just going through the tag names. This is 676 or Mike.
And this is Neo Tokyo Tempo.
Awesome. So, where do you guys want to start off with season 2? What'd you like?
Ooh, that's... Well, first, I like all the same things that I liked about season 1. So I liked the animation. I liked the fight choreography. And, I really liked, how detailed the art was. I specifically remember, when they were in the, Belmont basement, whatever it's called, There was one shot where there was a little flask or something that was tipped over, and right underneath it, the shelf was dissolved, like some corrosive chemical spilled on it. And I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, right into the other holy water. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, the holy water, it was an interesting idea how you could just bless water and have it burn the vampires.
Sorry, I was going to say that it was a very interesting move, especially when it came to the battle.
Yeah, let's go down the line. 676. What'd you like about it?
I agree with the artistic elements, especially. There were a lot of little hidden references. There's a scene where Sypha talks to Trevor and he has a box. And if you look in the box, it's 3 different daggers, and those are the different designs that have been used in some of the previous Castlevania games. So little references like that in the art, I absolutely fucking love. Also, several of the characters that they incorporated, Isaac in particular, I think he's one of the better redesigns. They've taken characters from quite a few games at this point. I really wasn't expecting them to throw out the Lament of Innocence reference and the Curse of Darkness just all out throughout this series.
Yeah, it felt like Castlevania, didn't it?
For a good amount of it, but I'll save my criticisms for after we get done gushing.
All right, Strikler. What the hell is
Striker?
I can't read it.
Striker.
I thought there was an L in it. What did you like about it?
Honestly, I love the fact that they improved on the score. Like it wasn't exactly, it was less Pirates of the Caribbean and more appropriate Victorian, like we talked about last time. I like the character development that happened, especially with Sypha and Trevor. I personally like the fact that well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but one of Dracula's
We could just say spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. All right, I'm gonna say it. Spoiler alert. The fact that Isaac got played by Dracula. Because holy shit, that was a twist.
What do you mean?
Well, Dracula promised him that he would not hurt humans, and he still planned a genocide.
Oh, okay.
That's Hector.
Oh, sorry, I screwed up. Yeah, you mixed it up.
Yeah, Isaac is the loyal one.
Yep,
And
we mixed them up. Yep.
And Hector is the bitch. I'm sorry.
Well, I feel like they're already setting Hector up to become an ally. Like,
Season
they
three.
already kind of set him up with the whole Carmilla thing. And so now they've given Hector a reason to turn.
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to point out is that I thought Carmilla, that was her name, right? I thought it.
Yep.
I thought she was one of the more interesting characters. Her motivations were much more clear than the rest of the characters, and she was a lot more interesting to watch.
She looked attractive too. If you were into vampire girls.
Her plot was interesting, but the only issue I have is I feel like they played that plot card a little too soon. They could have done some development with some characters or played the plot in a little different way.
Well, this is a Netflix show, and problem is there's always a chance of being canceled. So
They already got confirmed season 2 and 3, so they
No,
had a good amount to work with.
No, it's good that they did, but usually people generally try to be careful, both because they're handling a game IP, and two,
Yeah.
it's a Netflix show.
But Isaac, I think, is probably, to me, one of my favorite characters, mainly because there's so much they can do with him and the way they've set him up, especially at the end. Like, and I don't know, it gets into like the realm of theory crafting, but they it seems like they're playing him up to become like Shaft from the later games. I mean, his backstory already has him with a good knowledge of the occult. He's able to perform necromancy and demon forging. And not only that, he's probably best friends with Dracula, so he's the only right-hand man that really persevered through the whole series. So it'd be interesting to see him to be the one to resurrect Dracula.
Yeah, but keep in mind, like in Curse of Darkness, his role is similar. He helps with that resurrection without becoming Shaft.
And I guess that's another thing. I like this incarnation better. The Curse of Darkness version of Isaac felt generic.
He
This
felt,
character
yeah,
has a
he was
lot more
annoying.
depth. This character has depth, and he's hateful, but in a certain way, they wrote him to where it's kind of relatable in a sense.
Yeah, it's human. It's like he has a reason to be hateful. He's not just some annoying emo guy who's just like trying to sleep with everything he comes across. So the original Isaac, let's for some reference, anybody listening out there that might not know, the original Isaac was basically like, kind of like a metalcore emo guy. Like he kind of looked like something out of the 2000s. And
Wearing bondage.
yeah, and his pants were coming off. He looked like something out of a Square Enix game, not a Konami game. I've made this joke before. Like there was just a weird period where the artsy looking characters in Castlevania started looking more like Square Enix characters. So his whole thing was just generic. I'm evil. I'm the darkness inside of you, Hector. Give in. It was kind of annoying. It was like the whole character arc was just Hector saying, "No, I won't give in," and Isaac saying, "You must give in, Hector. I must also sleep with you." It was like sexual undertones, and
It was very campy.
yeah, really, really campy, and also too edgy. A little too edgy for me. So, this new Isaac, like, he has a reason to be pissed off. Like, he's been kind to people. He's tried his best to be a good person, and still, like, you know, he was punished for it. So his hatred is out of disappointment. He's disappointed with human beings.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes his character relatable, because it kind of characterizes misanthropy.
Yeah.
All right, so Is there are there any other sort of praises that anyone wants to throw out there?
Oh, certainly. Going back to the music score, that was like we talked about last time. The whole thing with the action music sounded like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Now it sounds
I actually have to disagree with that. You've thrown that out a few times. I don't think it sounded like Pirates of the Caribbean at all.
that was
I think
it was generic fantasy action music. It was a joke, but I was
But like,
overgeneralizing.
If like Pirates of the Caribbean music was really exciting and memorable, like that, I feel like I feel like it sounded like generic action movie music.
It was inspired more by cinema as opposed to being inspired by the game.
It sounded like something out of
That was-
it sounded like something out of the Ooey Bowl movie.
They did. That was the one element with their sound design, other than like sound effects. Because in the first season, the usage of the classic sound effects for the sub weapons was perfect. But the
Yeah.
music, it always ends up like drawing from classic cinematic tones. You're gonna have the rise on the cellos. You're gonna have this on the violins. It's very predictable. This season they kind of improved on it, but you can still see there's not much direct inspiration from the original game soundtracks.
Yeah,
And they can still. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say they could still like take a lot of the more upbeat songs, slow them down, and create tracks that are built around tension. All of the songs in Castlevania throughout the entire series, there's a song for it, as opposed to just let's just use our generic Lord of the Rings or generic action movie shit.
Yeah. So, anyways, I liked the soundtrack for this season a lot better. So I would have to agree with Lewis on that. And on top of that, I like the pacing better because it wasn't just like, slow Game of Thrones pacing that a lot of shows do. A lot of shows do that because they're trying to, it's like the complaint a lot of people have about certain YouTubers. Like they like to, it's a type of YouTuber. They like to drag out their intros to have more airtime so that like they can, put more ads or whatever. Either way, shows do that as well. And
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the pacing being better.
well, I mean,
I
look,
think,
for the amount of episodes.
I think half the it felt like half the season was the vampires conspiring in the castle and Belmont and the gang sitting just
Studying.
screwing around in the basement.
Exactly. That was one of my complaints as well. Half the series is them in the hold, and then you have action in the last 2 or 3 episodes.
Like I remember watching it and just really wanting them to finally get out of the basement.
There wasn't much of a basement, but rather more of a underground
Well,
laboratory.
you know what I mean.
Yep.
And there were a lot of missed opportunities with how they could have set that up.
Like I feel like the pacing in I feel like this season kind of had the opposite problem of the previous season. It's like the previous season, it was way too much story for too little time. I think that it's this season, the problem is too much time with too little story.
Well, not necessarily too little story, but too little story progress. Like, everything took place in one area, then all of a sudden, oh, plot's done.
Well, what I was going to say, though, is the reason I liked it more than last time was because specifically, like, like, how do I put this? Well, before you interrupted was, a lot of shows that try to pull the Game of Thrones formula, they stretch out a conspiracy, and it's just like, let me put it this way, like the whole thing with Camila and Carmilla and Brayla. If that was a generic show trying to be like Game of Thrones, that would have stretched out for like half a season, and then it would have turned into several different questions, like what were they actually up to, and then we'd have another season to answer that. That's what that. No,
it did stretch out for half a season though.
But no. Hold on. I said, and then it would lead to more questions instead of answers, which is what some shows are doing nowadays to stay alive, because it's like it's the whole. It's what J.J. Abrams brought up as well. It's this dumb new formula where it's like people think that, you know, if I don't know what's going on, that's more intriguing. It's like, well, to some people, sure, but it just makes it boring, because half of the time those questions don't get answered. Because what happens is you get a bunch of questions, they don't get answered, and then the show has to wrap up and end, and it becomes like Lost, which is a J.J. Abrams show, where it's like, cool, you ended the show, but what about all these other arcs that you made to make the show interesting? Because now we have a bunch of unanswered questions. That's the point of my praise. I like that they had an element of Game of Thrones, sort of, but at the same time, it wasn't like all-consuming. You get what I mean?
It wasn't completely consumed in like inner politics. Like it moved on fairly quickly from political, or the inner politics of the vampire circle. Yeah,
basically. I like that.
I don't know. I feel like it could have moved on a lot sooner.
My biggest thing is the time spent in the Belmont Hold. That was a ridiculous amount of time spent just lounging around, fucking with books. And honestly, the banter during those scenes
were annoying. That was annoying. We're talking about stuff we don't like now, so yeah, that was really friggin' annoying. It was just Alucard, fuck you, piss off, Trevor. Like, that was annoying.
And the dialogue just didn't fit. There were a lot of jokes that they're funny, but then you think about time period, and I don't know, it's something that just kind of breaks the immersion in a sense. Especially the scene where Carmilla, what the fuck just happened? That just didn't feel right, as funny as it was.
What the fuck was that?
It almost feels like, you know, I don't think it's necessarily a problem with the time period. I think it's a problem with the jokes clashing with the tone. Because those were like Avatar: The Last Airbender style jokes. And this is supposed to be a very mature show.
Yeah.
Well,
it has an
Avatar:
imbalance.
The Last Airbender minus the swearing, but you know.
Yeah, basically.
Honestly, I feel like Godbrand took the show when it came to the antagonists.
You're a fan of Godbrand,
really
are you?
Good job with Godbrand.
Good. See, there's a character you specifically like. So what? Did you like the dream sequence where he just like he's hunting down those people and he's just like, I'm Godbrand.
That was I really liked that scene. The whole setup, and then fuck your eyes, bring me blood and beer.
He's like, I've dreamt about my legend. Now I'd like some blood and beer.
Yeah.
I think I dreamt enough. I need to get shit-faced.
Yeah, I feel like I was trying to think since the previous season and while I was watching this season, like why I didn't like the show, because I didn't, and it actually occurred to me like an hour ago. It's not a problem with the writing itself. It's not a problem with it's not necessarily a problem with the pacing, because I watch shows that have bad pacing sometimes, and it's not necessarily a problem with the characters and their depth and their backstory, because all all that's fine. I feel like it's a problem with the chemistry between the characters. Like all to me, all the conversations between the characters, they feel kind of stilted and
Yeah.
awkward.
Rushed and robotic.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just like the characters themselves, they're just not bad, but they don't work off each other very well.
Well, a good example, I think, is Trevor and Alucard. They can't make up their minds if they're being friendly or not. One minute they'll make a shitty joke and then laugh about it. The next they'll be saying, "Stop breaking Trevor's balls."
Yeah, there's no real sense of camaraderie between the main protagonists. Like it's trying to sell you the fact that they're friends, but I just wasn't buying it.
It felt like, oh look, they have such differences, but they put their differences aside, and now they're friends. It was hard to buy when it's forced.
Yeah.
There is one weird art design thing about Alucard I noticed. It feels like they just took his mother's artwork and made it male.
I don't know.
His uniform was accurate.
Oh yeah, but it's just the facial design. It feels like they took Lisa's artwork and just made some minor modifications to it.
I felt like he looked more like his father.
And now we have artistic argumentation.
Oh, great.
No, this is good. I'm digging it.
It might be they took both images and like, all right, meld these two together and then make changes. Because I can see what Will's saying. I don't know. I ended up seeing there was one scene in particular in the Belmont Hold where he looks towards Trevor, and I'm like, what the fuck? That looks like Lisa.
You have your mother's eyes.
And face. And jaw structure.
Let's see. Oh, there was another criticism I had, and it was with Isaac's backstory.
What was it?
It was when he's having that little flashback.
The guy whipping him?
And yeah. The scene didn't make any sense. Like he's getting whipped, and then he says, "I was trying to help you. I love you." And then the other guy warms up to him, and he's like all apologetic. And then he's like, "I love you too." And then all of a sudden, he just goes all psycho and starts whipping him again. And I feel like it just didn't make any sense.
Did it for the sake of cruelty.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I just-
I'm doing this so you learn, boy. It was like that. It was just evil.
Yeah, I just can't see.
There
a
are
person
shitty people in real life that are like that. That's the thing.
It's just the show's tone feels conflicted in a lot of areas.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is like the show is always it can't decide if it's trying to be like this sort of show about politics and like conspiracies and betrayal and stuff like that, or if it's trying to be a show about adventure and action and heroics.
God damn it.
There's quite a few missed opportunities.
Yeah.
I feel like the scene where Sypha pulls the castle to where they're at, that could have been an amazing setup to going into the castle. My biggest criticism is the castle has no gravity in the series almost, other than it being a traveling machine.
I noticed it felt like the castle was just
It felt tiny.
yeah, it was just a cool little mansion.
Like they walk in and they go through the entrance hall, and then it's just a fight through a couple rooms. Like
the Belmont house felt larger.
Exactly. Like the whole point was supposed to be that Dracula's castle was immense. It has its own. They even used the heart from Castlevania Symphony of the Night to represent how it navigates.
I feel like it could have at least been an opportunity to use that music from the first game where Belmont's walking into the gates right at the beginning. And then there, I feel like they just kind of got through all the major vampires way too quickly. And that's another thing. They could have shortened the time that they were in the basement and added like another episode or two for the whole castle sequence.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that-
One
so
episode. You're right. One episode in the Belmont hold, followed by shit. What's that noise? And then next episode, Simon fends off the attack, and then they figure out how to get into the castle.
Yeah, they could have had like because there were two other major vampires, like vampire generals or something.
There were 4 of them that went unnamed.
Yeah, they could have done more with those vampires and then had an episode with at least 1 or 2 of them being the main enemy in that episode.
I'm also kind of disappointed that those vampire generals weren't based around a lot of other bosses. There's so many bosses to choose from, and the only one, and even this is speculation, is Godbrand. He's the only one I think that had some type of boss design.
Yeah, it was just too easy for them to get to Dracula. Like, Dracula was built up for both season 1 and season 2 as this great, almighty, all-powerful being, and then they just kind of
waltz up to him.
Yeah, they kind of just waltz up to him, and then
with the power of friendship.
The fight wasn't bad. The fight was they definitely delivered on the fight with Dracula, but it was too easy to get to him.
Yeah, the fight was excellent. That final scene was perfect. And it just all the buildup was really lazy.
Especially when there's an entire episode for the endings.
Yeah, I was kind of perturbed about that.
It was like the Return of the King ending, but 20 minutes long.
And they had some really good scenes in that ending too. It's just they drew it out so fucking long. I feel like this season ended up being purely exposition. Like they threw in a little bit of action, but this whole season was like a major setup for season 3.
I feel like it was trying too hard to set up its own climax. Like most of the season, you're right, was exposition for a fight that only lasts a couple episodes. They really could have done more to, get me to actually like and care for the characters or something, but they also, in order to do that, they also would have really needed to, work on the chemistry between the characters.
Definitely.
I feel like telling an awkward joke like every 15 minutes is just not, it just doesn't do it for me.
Oh, look, they can joke together. They're friends now, right? No, that's not how that works.
No. That is something I myself must admit kind of irked me.
Well, it's like Belmont and Alucard are supposed to hate each other with a burning passion, and they just don't do anything in particular that makes me believe they would have reconciled that.
And they had some good setups for that. I mean, isn't this amazing, Alucard? It looks like a museum dedicated to the extermination of my people. So
Yeah.
no. That was a really good scene. They could have played on that more and build that kind of bitter hatred between Trevor and Alucard.
Yeah, and then
Instead,
it could have come to a head, and it could have resulted in some sort of fight, and then maybe that would be a good time for the monsters to attack, and then maybe
they get their shit together.
Yeah, they sort of bond with by working together in combat. Have a monster that's so powerful that Alucard and Belmont combined
Which
have
I
a
kind
hard
of felt.
time defeating them, and that could have actually forced
Legion,
some sort of
like
bond.
Legion.
I felt like that should have been the point of the generals.
Yeah, and that would have that's actually a good idea. And that would have made the whole Belmont basement arc a lot more interesting. It's certainly better than watching them
Read books for
read-
3 episodes.
yeah.
Oh look, I found a mirror. Cool. Let's fuck around sitting in front of the mirror for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It sounded a lot more like forced banter more than anything else regarding Simon and Alucard.
Sounded like what?
Forced banter.
Yeah.
But I did like the part when Alucard flips Trevor off. Really like to see that. That made season 2 for me.
That was a meme.
Yeah.
I liked kind of shifting gears here. I liked what's the sorceress's name again?
Sorceress? Oh, you mean
the speaker girl?
Sypha.
Sypha?
Sypha. Yes, I'm very bad with names. I liked how her magic was handled, because they almost had an Avatar: The Last Airbender thing going, where she would perform her magic in accordance with martial arts moves almost, and that's one of the things that made the action in Avatar so fun to watch. But it also made it fun to watch her cast spells.
Yeah, it was fairly animated the way they designed casting. Especially in that first battle scene where, what is it? She controls the fire within that giant bat.
Oh yeah. The action in general was extremely well choreographed. Some of the best I've seen in animation. And what was I going to say? There's one issue I had with the animation, and it's the same problem in the previous season. Is every once in a while the animation would just randomly get choppy.
Yeah, Lawrence brought up why when he was here last time. He mentioned it was because there was 2 different studios, American studio and a Korean studio, and the mediums they used, digital, physical, they had a problem because they had to transfer it either from physical to digital or vice versa, and they just drew over the original that was sent to them. So yeah, that's what had happened. So yeah, so I'm assuming season 2. So you're saying it was smoother than last time, right?
I don't know. I think it's about the same. I didn't notice anything different, to be honest.
I noticed a bit of frame rate issue during the battle with Dracula. It kind of at times felt like a video game cutscene, but I don't mind.
Yeah, that's where I noticed it just randomly getting choppy the most. Let's see. Oh, it looks like
We have about 7 minutes. So, Lewis,
it looks like Stryker accidentally disconnected.
Oh, allow me to fix that. Okay, let me see.
Wait a minute, he should be able to just jump right in because he's an admin.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna pull him in right now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
I was freaking out.
All right, so we have
we're-
how
yeah.
many minutes left?
We had 7 minutes, but I can kind of push it for a bit more. So, Lewis, what did you notice the most, like, about season 2? Because like Will was saying, like the animation was still a bit choppy.
At some places, it was
Yeah.
usually very smooth.
I curiously say the quality has remained the same, like Will said, and also the plot was a bit rushed, especially regarding the rival vampire crew that was attacking Dracula's army. What was their motive?
Well,
never found
they
out.
They served Carmilla.
Yeah, but that makes me think of another criticism. Oh, where did they come from? It wasn't established before that her forces were there, right?
I think it was established that she was moving her forces around, and that was one of the reasons why she wanted to move to Brayla.
Yeah, she was saying, Dracula, go to Brayla. My forces will attack from this side. You attack from that side. Blah blah blah. We'll stop the humans from escaping.
It wasn't covered much. It was mentioned like in passing.
The other thing that I noticed was, I gotta point this out. How did Sypha not know that the Belmont Castle was beyond Alucard, and she actually dropped it right on top of it?
No, she was controlling something like friggin' like thousands of times her size.
Yeah, I feel like she was doing a spell she has never done before.
Controlling
against something that's really heavy and is fighting back.
Yeah, because it was explained that she was fighting against the gears and engines that moved it.
And she was like, "Oh my god, I just lifted up freaking castle all by myself!"
Yeah, that's why she was happy, because like she was doing something for the first time that was like near impossible. So it was a capture spell. Even Carmilla at the end, Carmilla figured it out because Hector was like, "What was that?" And Carmilla's like, "Isn't it obvious? Somebody pulled a capture spell, and the castle was fighting back."
Well, not only that, but Sypha's excitement comes from that spell wasn't finished. She finished the rest of it.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was pretty. Yeah. The Belmonts had created that spell, and she finished it.
Because they really wanted to reference Adamical structures. They used that a lot in a few minutes.
Yeah, they did kind of spring that up pretty quickly, but it wasn't particularly hard to follow either. So it's neither here nor there.
It just felt weird because out of everything, that got so much exposition.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, the Morningstar whip was pretty cool.
No,
They
that's
did a
pretty
good
nice.
job with that. They did an excellent job with that.
They I really liked how Belmont kind of flung it around. It would sort of travel all around him while he's waving his the handle around, and then basically at a flick of his wrist, it would come out and smack a demon, and it would explode. It was a little less gory than the old whip, though.
That was superb whip control from Trevor's part.
Yeah, the choreography for using the whip, they did an excellent job. How he would use his other arm to control the angle or step on the whip.
They must have taken the whip from Super Castlevania 4.
And well, I mean, I guess, but the whip itself, from the beginning, like Castlevania 1, you could upgrade it using alchemy.
So now that we're with distils, are we going to discuss the epic fight between Dracula and Alucard?
Yeah, certainly. So, one, that was super depressing, but two, it was really well done.
Yes, that final scene was excellently handled.
I like how in the beginning Dracula they sort of set Dracula up as almost indestructible. So which really brought up the tension in the fight, because you're actually genuinely worried that they might not be able to do it.
And then there was the hard decision of killing your father, because he was about to exterminate the human race.
Yeah, out of madness and depression.
I think, but just the impact of Dracula realizing what he was doing was delivered so well.
Agreed.
And then we have the part when he's crying because he saw an image of himself when he was a kid, and his
No. He saw an image of his son.
Oh, his son?
That was his son. He saw himself and his son and his wife, and he said, "I'm killing our child." Basically, he realized what he was doing.
I think he's talking about his about the ending.
Yeah, that's the ending. He saw. He's talking about Alucard.
Final episode, Alucard's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The castle.
Oh yeah, and then
Fire.
because he remembers.
But yeah, Dracula seen
Adrian.
Yeah, that was an Adrian moment. Like, Adrian.
No, Adrian is Alucard.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was thinking.
No, I was just saying it's like he didn't take the time to grieve because he was so busy preparing for battle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was asleep for a year, and then the as soon as he woke up, he had to get ready to fight Dracula. So, presumably he confronted his father almost the day of his mother's death, right?
Yeah, because he was injured like that day when Dracula set out, and he went to sleep. And so it's literally all happening within a few days to him.
That would be really traumatizing.
And also, they explain that he literally grew up quick. So he kind of is like a teenager in a man's body.
Yeah, there is that.
And so all of those compounding on his character, you can really see how they set him up. And they did the best with Alucard, really. Trevor got downplayed quite a bit, and just it felt lazy. Dracula was downplayed too much as well. They really put Carmilla at the front line.
I have a feeling that this is a setup for season 3. This is a setup for Curse of Darkness, because
What I'm hoping is it ends up being Isaac taking the place of like Shaft, as well as maintaining his character, and revives Dracula. And Carmilla ends up being the side plot that distracts Trevor and friends while Dracula's rebuilding his power.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. That actually would be a neat twist.
Because they've shown that Isaac is the only one that's maintained his loyalty. And he's the only one that's still alive that can bring things back to dead and create an army that he could have a standing army ready for when he resurrects Dracula.
Yeah.
Because they can't kill Dracula off this early.
No. So season 3, so if they go with the Curse of Darkness arc, there'd have to be like some explanation for the curse, because in the game it's just Dracula curses the land before he dies. I didn't see anything like that in the show. When he died, he didn't curse the land, so he was trying to say something to Alucard, and then Trevor just shows up and goes whip. But yeah, so hopefully there'll be an explanation for that, because it's a good setup. That's what I noticed. This is perfect for, as you said, Carmilla distracting Trevor and friends, and then Hector and Isaac duking it out while Isaac is trying to resurrect Dracula.
Exactly, like it could end up even having Hector, because Hector meets up with Trevor, and I believe Sypha shows up. I don't know if she shows up in the game, but they had a comic book prequel that came out that had her in it.
That's yeah. I don't think she shows up in Curse of Darkness. Trevor shows up, but Sypha doesn't.
But I know they released a whole like mini series that had.
I read it. I read the manga, but I didn't play. I mean, I didn't see her when I played it.
Yeah, I'm going back and playing through that one again.
So, I'd say let's start wrapping up. Any final notes?
I go ahead. Sorry.
My final notes, I guess, would be, they put a lot of effort into this. I don't think that this show is in any way, shape, or form a lazy cash grab or anything like that. And I think the people who worked on the show and funded the show and directed the show and all that, I feel like they had the best intentions, but I don't think, and I do think, like, as a nod to Castlevania fans, it's fine, but I don't think, like, as a show, it's particularly good.
I loved it, but I'm a Castlevania fan, so.
Well, in my case, I'm personally hyped for what Season 3 brings to the table, and Isaac's becoming the Enrico Pucci of the Castlevania series.
Isaac becomes Enrico Pucci. Yeah, so Lewis, when he and I were talking about this in private, he compared Isaac to Enrique Pucci because Pucci in JoJo, again, spoiler alert, is very close to Dio. And Dio has a similar hatred for humanity because bad things happen to him and people he cared about. And in his case, it's his mother. So imagine if instead of Dracula, we have an evil Alucard. And his father is just a normal human. So Dio Dio's mother dies because his father abused the crap out of her, and another iteration, his mother dies because a farmer abused her. Either way, regardless of what universe Dio is from, he doesn't like people because of his mother's death. Poochie is this priest that is obsessed with him. Like, he thinks like Dio is like the second coming of Jesus or something. I mean, he's a Catholic priest. Poochie's a Catholic priest, but he just basically says, this guy's a messiah. Like that's his obsession. Because he understands the sins of mankind. Like, Poochie just hates people just as much as Dio does. So, it's not the same as Isaac, though. Isaac's story is, as we discussed, he was abused, and he hates people for being dishonest, etc., etc. Poochie's story was his brother and his sister, without realizing it, were having an incestuous affair. He wanted to stop it, so he hired some private investigators to disrupt it. He had no idea that these guys were mafiosos, and they ended up killing his siblings instead. So Poochie snaps from that point forward. So Poochie causes his own problem, whereas Isaac had his problem brought onto him. That's the difference. But what Lewis's joke was, wow, season 2 and we already get Poochie, because with JoJo, Poochie is what, part 6?
Yeah, with Jolene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bad guy from part 6. And I was saying, well, look, holy shit, is that Pastor Boolicious? Because, damn, he actually looks like him.
I was actually disappointed. I thought Isaac was going to be Count Alrox. His design looked a lot like it from Symphony of the Night.
Because of the head?
Well, that and also the outfit. I didn't realize that they were just basing off of Hector's outfit.
Hector's outfit was awesome, though. And, well, yeah, the Devil Forge Masters had uniforms. So that makes sense. Anyways, speaking of which, so while I'm playing Bloodstain right now, I'm fighting a boss who's kind of like what's her face, the something of Bathory, that woman in real life.
Countess Bathory.
Yeah, she would bathe in virgin's blood
to maintain youth and vitality.
Fucking nut job.
I'm
fighting a boss based on her, and I can't help but think of Carmilla. Even though Countess Bathory is there is a boss that's like that in Castlevania, but
I think that was in Bloodlines, right?
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Bathory, yeah, you're right. It was Bloodlines. There's a friggin' boss that's based off of the Sega Genesis boss. Speaking of which, yeah, Carmilla in the Game Boy Advance Circle of the Moon resembles Elizabeth Bathory from the Genesis version, oddly enough.
That was the first time Carmilla actually had like a part in the plot.
Yeah.
Because before that, she first showed up in 2 just as the mask.
Yeah, that was. It looked like what's that one mask from Super Mario Brothers 2?
Exactly. I can't remember the name of it, but
you know what I'm talking about.
Every time I see Carmilla in a Castlevania game like that,
you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I'd say it's 7-11. No pun intended. Let's wrap up in about let's wrap up actually 7-12. Let's wrap up in 3 minutes. So hopes for season 3, and I'm gonna make a quick announcement. Quick announcement: we're having a Street Fighter Third Strike tournament on November 17th. We're gonna post more info on the Facebook channel. Facebook page and our Discord if you're on our Discord. Other than that, we're just gonna have seasonal Street Fighter tournaments from now on. So this is gonna be the fall one, and then we're gonna have one. So I guess bi-seasonal. So fall, spring. So, anyways, what hopes do you have for season 3? I already listed mine. I really hope that they bring in Curse of Darkness.
Other than, well, I would personally like to see, and I think everybody else would agree with me, improved animation. The soundtrack should one up the second season. Personally, I would like to see a fight, a battle between Isaac and Trevor, because honestly, Isaac is that big of that. Yeah, he turned into that boss because he has nothing else but an army of the undead, full blown demons and all that.
They're night creatures or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, what? Oh fuck! I don't think I have much to say, to be honest.
With what season 2 has set us up with, I really want to see Isaac play out. I want to see how they develop his character, and I really hope they use him as a means to bring Dracula back in some sense. Even to the point where, I mean, it could be Isaac sets out, fucks over Carmilla, and then brings Dracula back to reclaim his throne or whatever. Isaac has been done so well compared to what the character they're basing him off of. I want to see this come to fruition.
Yeah, I agree. I like the new Isaac. The old Isaac was just, again, annoying emo rocker. Like, Hector, you must bring back Lord Dracula. It's like, dude, please. Like, go back to Square Enix.
If they can utilize Isaac, he will be a really good antagonist.
Yeah, agreed.
And in the case of Hector,
we have 1 minute left. We'll go ahead and then let Will say what he wants to say, and then we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, I was gonna say something real quick regarding Hector, and that would be I want to see Hector trying to escape from Carmilla.
No, that's like whatchamacallit. That's just unspoken for it. That's going to happen, but that's very likely to happen. Anyway, so hey, Will, what are your hopes? And then we're going to wrap up.
As far as hopes go, I don't really have any, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't plan on watching the 3rd season.
Aw. Humbug.
As far as what they can do better, it's basically the same things that I said last stream. They need to have more music that's from the games. They need to they need to have better chemistry between the characters, and and just make them more interesting to watch. And they need to improve the pacing.
Okay. Well, I guess that wraps it up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you dudes for showing up and watching the show. But this has been the Outpost Anime Podcast. We're going to return again, hopefully to discuss new JoJo, because, man, Vento Oreo's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about Vento Oreo and My Hero Academia. I know a lot of my friends they either love or hate My Hero Academia. I'm starting to really dig it, so those are the two animes I've been watching.
We should be talking about Goblin Slayer as well.
Yes. Heck yes.
Goblin. Yeah, I would love to talk about Goblin Slayer.
Okay, we're going to talk about those 3 animes next time then. That's the plan. All right. Wow, that was odd. As I'm ending the podcast, I just beat that boss I was talking about. The one that
Hell yeah.
The one that looks like Elizabeth Bathory. Okay. Well, happy Halloween. Stay safe out there, and I will see you guys next time.